You are listening to the Thinking Big podcast, episode number 3, 8 Components of Persistence, and the shocking revelation that my wife was right.
Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast with Sean Osborn, the show helping you think bigger into your life and potential. Sean believes by equipping you with the tools, strategies, and philosophies required to be successful in all aspects of your life, you can achieve anything you believe in. Empowering our own growth makes a deeply positive and lasting impact on our lives, community, and our world. Now, here's Sean.
So back in 2013, I started having this reoccurring dream, really more like a nightmare. I can't see anything. It's getting dark. It seems like I'm running in the woods, and all I hear is flip, 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 flip. Now, 2 to 3 years before this dream started, I wish you could have seen me. I kind of let myself go a little. I was way overweight. My idea of exercise was walking to the mailbox to get my mail, and even that got me winded. And I was blind to the fact that I had gained so much weight. A few pounds here, a few pounds there, consistently over time, and I just didn't see it. I should have seen it. All the signs were there. All my clothes kept getting tighter and tighter. I'd go buy bigger clothes, and they would eventually get tighter and tighter. Now, because my scale kept saying I was 235, my scale was broken, by the way, and all my clothes kept getting tighter, there was only one obvious reason. My wife was shrinking my clothes, right? What else could it be? The scale wasn't changing, but my clothes kept getting smaller and smaller. So logic says the dryer was shrinking them every time she washed them. And to this day, she still won't dry any of my clothes. It wasn't until I got a required life insurance physical that I found out what my true weight was. And the nurse came in the house, with her little physical kit and her little scale. We went through the entire process, and she looked right at me and said I was 290 pounds and considered morbidly obese. Of course, I argued with her for 5 minutes about her inaccurate scale and told her I'd go get my scale. Needless to say, the nurse was right. Needless to say, my wife wasn't, in fact, shrinking all my clothes. Now, for those that know me, others will start to understand if you listen to my podcast, I do stupid shit. All the time, I just do stupid shit. When I get an idea, I am all in. I go big. And this new morbidly obese info did not sit well with me. Well, the inspired and pissed off me, didn't want to set an easy goal like, run a marathon or something. So I set a goal to get back in shape and compete in Ironmans. Now, for those that don't know what an Ironman is, you start off with a 2.4 mile swim. I thought, how hard can it be? I swam in the pool when I was a kid. But I can clearly remember the first time I was back in the pool to train. I had joined a master's swim class and after one lap, that's 25 yards, I could not breathe. It's like I finished running a sprint. I thought I was going to die. So anyways, you do a 2.4 mile swim. Then you're off on a nice little 112 mile bike ride. And then you get to run a full 26.2 mile marathon. All without stopping, back to back, in the same day. Again, I come up with stupid shit to do. But just like anything in life, doing an Ironman is a process. It's about goal setting, goal achieving, and more than anything, it's about being persistent. Without persistence, there is no success. No matter what level of fitness you're at, for most people, you don't just wake up one day and go out and do an Ironman or achieve any big goal in life. Big things take time. And honestly, most people can't seem to handle that. We throw in the towel saying it's not possible for them at the first sign of a problem. And that's a tragedy. In the space between you and your goals is the process. The long haul, the work, the shit storms, the growth. It's not easy, but nothing worth doing is easy. No great achievement is handed to you on a silver platter. It takes grit. And persistence is the essence of that. Persistence is a key piece in the formula for success, because without it, all of your efforts will fall short. Success in big ideas is a numbers game, and the law of averages doesn't work if you only try something once, right? Persistence is just, it's not some elusive, state of mind. It's the sum of many universal parts, and therefore can be achieved by anybody. Napoleon Hill says, the only break anyone can afford to rely upon is a self-made break. And those come through the application of persistence. Now, I don't know if you know who Napoleon Hill is. He's one of the pioneers of the personal development movement. And if you know any of my stuff, I do a lot of work with his philosophies. Think and Grow Workshop and study groups. But in his book, Think and Grow Rich, he illustrates what it takes to be persistent. Speaking of Think and Grow Rich, the biggest misconception people have is they assume the book is only about money. And it's really not. The philosophies can be used for anything. The book should really be called Think and Grow Successful in whatever the hell you want. Happiness, health, relationships. Now, clearly the book talks about money. That's something everybody understands. And he published Think and Grow Rich right after the Great Depression. And that's where a lot of people were hurting at the time. But the 500 of the most successful people in the world that Hill interviewed were not just successful in finances. They were successful in life. As a matter of fact, I will put a link in the show notes for a free copy of Think and Grow Rich. You can go download it and read it if you like. It's a fantastic must-read book. And in Think and Grow Rich, Hill breaks down persistence into 8 components. Number 1, it takes definite purpose to stay persistent. A strong motive forces one to surmount many difficulties. This is the first piece and arguably one of the most important when it comes to persistence. You have to have something worthy to persist for, right? Your why has to be bigger than your how. What is your purpose? What is your dream? Is it crystal clear or is it hazy and undefined? The clearer your purpose, the sharper your focus on what it is that you desire, the easier it will be to persist through any and all adversity. It's easy to give up at 4 a.m. when you need to get in the pool and train. It's easy to give up when you've just finished a hard day at work and now you got to go run a 13-mile training run that night. It's easy to give up when your whole body is hurting and you have 100 miles left on your training ride. There's a great quote in regards to this, and it says, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost anyhow." Everything starts with purpose. We need to have one. Number 2, it takes a burning desire to stay persistent. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not hope, not a wish, but a keen, burning desire which transcends everything. We go after something because we want it. And desire is like jet fuel that anybody can exploit. Therefore, if you have a dream that you want to make real, find a way to enhance your desire for it. Imagine it, envision it every morning, write it out in detail. As a matter of fact, at the end of all my podcasts and training calls, I end with remember your future. And I'll explain that a little bit right now. If you have a memory of something in the past, you can sit there and remember that, and you can remember what it smelled like. You can remember what it felt like. You can remember the atmosphere. You can remember the feelings. You can remember everything about that memory. You got to have the same thing for your future. Your future dream, you have to have it like a memory. What does it smell like when that happened? What's going on? What's the vibration? What's the energy? Where are you at? What does it look like? You have to have a memory of your future, and act as if you already have it. Fill yourself with excitement for whatever it is you want and then go for it. Number 3, it takes self-reliance to stay persistent. Belief in one's ability to carry out a plan encourages one to follow the plan through with persistence. Number 3, it takes self-reliance to stay persistent. Belief in one's ability to carry out a plan encourages one to follow the plan through with persistence. Being able to depend on yourself to get shit done is a powerful ingredient to success. It is important to be able to ask for help, but at the end of the day, this is a you and you deal, and you alone are the one building your future. Believing in yourself keeps you from being your own worst enemy. Jim Rohn says, the understanding of self-worth is the beginning of progress. Number 4, it takes definiteness of plan. Definiteness of plan. There we go. Definiteness of plan to stay persistent. Organized plans, even though they may be weak and entirely impractical, encourage persistence. Signing up for the Ironman, knowing I had this huge endeavor with a deadline, I felt the doubt set in. I had that holy shit, how will I get this done? The solution is what I call chunking, breaking it down into small, manageable parts. And before you can do that, you need to have a plan. What will you do? When will you do it? By when and how? I had to gradually increase my training from going from 5 hours a week, increasing to over 25 hours a week for training. We would do super Saturdays leading up to an Ironman where it was a 30-mile bike and then a 5-mile run, and we do it 4 times, ending with 120 miles on the bike and a 20-mile run for the training. I had to start off running 5Ks, then 10Ks, then half marathons, then full marathons. Everything was planned out to the month, week, day. Everything was planned out. Having an organized plan is a catalyst for action. It takes much of the fear and doubt out of even enormous tasks. Knowing the objectives and the steps that will take you there. It's like what the 6 P's say. Proper planning prevents piss poor performance. You've heard the saying, a goal without a plan is just a wish. It doesn't have to be a refined down to the smallest detail. Even a broad idea can help. So have a plan. Number 5, it takes accurate knowledge to stay persistent. Guessing instead of knowing destroys persistence. Knowing what you are doing, that your plan is sound, works wonders for action. I didn't just willy-nilly come up with a training plan for the Ironman. I paid someone who had done it many times successfully for their training plan. This signals to your subconscious mind that you have a damn good chance of doing it. If they can do it, so can you. Do the research because ignorance is not bliss. It's merely delayed misfortune. Number 6, it takes cooperation to stay persistent. Surround yourself with people that force you to do better. Why is this? Because no matter what your goal is, it can't be in a vacuum. You need others to make it happen. You have to have accountability partners. I had run groups, cycling groups that I trained with. They expected me at the workouts, and they pushed me past my comfort zone and what I thought was my limits. They would call my ass if I wasn't there. They would force me to do better. One of the great lessons in life is a team sport. Number 7, it takes willpower to stay persistent. Willpower is the basis of perseverance. If I boiled down the meaning of willpower for me, it's the ability to give myself a command and do it. Telling myself, you're going to go get that done today and actually doing it. You're going to go run 8 miles today and you do it. Being able to concentrate all your power on whatever it is that you're going after is a powerful tool. Focus creates action. And Tony Robbins says it best, where focus goes, energy flows. And a strong will to do something creates focus. People don't do anything they can. What people do is everything they will. And willpower helps you grind out the dream even when the proverbial yogurt hits the fan. Finally, number 8, it takes habit to stay persistent. Persistence is the direct result of habit. The mind absorbs and becomes a part of the daily experiences upon which it feeds. Habits make us who we are. Success, then, depends on having the right habits. Take an inventory of your daily life. Identify your habits, determine whether they help or hinder you. Then go to work on creating the habits that create a life of decisive action. There's another great quote of motivation might be what gets you started, but habit is what keeps you going. Keep in mind that habit succeeds even when willpower fails. Your habits will win every time. So the day of my first Ironman finally comes. Ironman, Texas. It's been 2 years getting in shape and 6 months of training just for this day. I'm scared, nervous, anxious. It's very surreal. You're in uncharted territory for yourself. You're way out of your comfort zone, doing something you've never done before. Getting ready at the starting area, getting what they called marked, where they write your race number on each arm. I assume that if you start drowning, they know who you are. Then for some reason, they mark your age on your calves. The sun is just breaking. It's a mass people starting in the water all at once. And I had another one of my bright ideas. I talked my friend into starting in the front of everyone. So we're lined up in the water. We've got 3,000 people behind us. We're sitting there treading water for, 15 minutes before the gun goes off. And there it goes. Boom. Let me tell you, it's not really a 2.4 mile swim. It's more like an MMA fight in the water. It's survival. It's getting kicked in the face, punched, swam over, you swimming over other people. It is brutal. There's a reason why the fast swimmers start up front and us slower swimmers start in the back. Now, getting out of the water, feeling pretty good. Oh, and this is where my first disappointment happened. My wife told me that she volunteered to be one of the strippers in transition area between the swim and the bike start. And I thought, well, that's one way to keep me motivated. It turns out she was a wetsuit stripper, helping strip off wetsuits as we got out of the water. Very disappointing. Then comes the 112-mile ride on the bike in the Houston heat. It's already 85 degrees when we get on the bike. And I can tell you this, though, out of the three, swimming, biking, and running, biking is by far my favorite. I'm feeling great. I'm out on the bike. And really the best part is passing the young guys out there. Passing someone with 20s, 30s, even 40s written on their calves, looking over at them struggle as I pass them and just casually say, "What's up? How you feeling?" As they see my age as I pass them. When I'm in this zone, it's really not about winning. I'm just not that good. It's more about taking something from them, crushing their dreams a little, making them mentally question their abilities and just toughen them up a little bit. Anyways, coming into transition, I jump off my bike, throw on my running shoes, try to down an energy bar in, 30 seconds, and then I'm off on the marathon. So I get out on the run, and about mile 6, I have my second disappointment. There's my wife, still not stripping, with all of our friends having fun, but at least they were cheering me on. And shortly after this is when it all started happening. I hear this faint flip, 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 flip. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know what could possibly be making that sound. So I continue running. I make it around to mile 13. I'm starting to hurt. Temperature are reaching the mid 90s. There's not a cloud in the sky. People are dropping like flies. There's, ambulance on the course. There's, people are just falling over. And there it is again. Flip, 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 flip. And it's definitely getting louder now, but I still can't make out what the hell that sound is. And about mile 17, by this time, I am really hurting. Wondering if I'm going to make it, starting to question, my life's decisions. Have you ever watched a real old person run? They're going through the run motions like they're in a sprint, but they're really going really slow, like walking. Yeah, that was me. Now, luckily by this time, the sun was starting to go down as I make the backside of the loop. And there it is again. Flip, 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 flip. And it's definitely getting louder by now. I make it to mile 23. I'm pretty sure I'm starting to hallucinate. I'm starting to go through a part of the course that's, kind of forested area, kind of in the woods. I'm pretty much by myself. The field has really spread out by this time. That's code for most people have finished. And it's getting dark. And there it is. Flip, 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 flip. It is loud and right behind me. And right as I'm about to freak out, this little old gray-haired lady passes me. And I look down at her feet and I noticed she was running in flip-flops. And that's when I noticed the 61 on her calf. I swear, if I could have caught her, I would have tripped her. I'm thinking there is no way I'm letting her beat me. But there she goes. Flip, 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 flip. She crushed my dreams that day. So, putting this episode all together, persistence doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's a process, an equation, the sum of its parts. Purpose breathes life into whatever task you embark upon. Desire becomes the fuel that ignites purpose into action. Self-belief makes you know that you can do it and it's possible for you. Clear plans make even the most challenging of goals more manageable. Accurate knowledge maximizes the effectiveness of your plans. Cooperation creates the miracle of doing something wonderful with the help of others. Will keeps you going even through the grind, and habit keeps you going even when your will fails. Whatever your dreams are, whatever makes your heart sing, whatever it is that you want to create in your life, do this one thing no matter what. Persist. Thank you so much for listening. Again, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors, your dog, or anyone else that might be interested in growing and developing to follow and listen. Until the next episode, here's to you, and always remember your future.